I tell
Died
y'all
when
what's
my
on my
money
mind.
gluttony was too attractive. Reincarnated.
Can I get a couple of things off my chest?
Like reincarnated. Wise up, it's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son, it's your kinfolk, William Jewell. Well, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating rap. How y'all doing? If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn all the notifications on so you can get all the new posts, all the new content when I make them. And I'm trying to work on the clips, man. Y'all bear with me. I'm trying to work on the clips. I'm trying to give y'all these things, right, that y'all can take in a shorter term of consumption. Correct? Because it's a lot to talk about. It's a lot to get to. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like around the same subject because not a lot of people doing a lot of things around this time. Not a lot of music is coming out. So we get to sit with the GNX project a little bit more. We get to talk about Smino. We get to talk about, some other people that have some things going on, in regards to hip hop, right? Because this is articulating rap, right? So I got to give y'all my detail, my analysis of this rap game. So, man, y'all just thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for support. Just appreciate you, right? But what's going on right now is the tour, right? Kendrick Lamar has announced his stadium tour with SZA. It had 21 dates originally, and now they're going to add another date in Toronto, quote unquote. And they're going to add another date in LA due to, high demand. But I just want to talk about the tour. Let's talk about the tour because he's pretty much one of the first hip-hop acts to do a stadium tour, right? I know Jay-Z has done some with Beyonce, but he's going to go on a road with SZA and do this tour. And I feel like the Super Bowl is going to be the catapult, is going to be the platform that really makes this tour what it is, that really promotes this tour, that really kind of gives you a little bit of insight of what this tour is going to be like. And that's what he's going to use this Super Bowl performance for. So it only makes sense that as soon as he does the stadium show at the Super Bowl, he's going to do more to come, and there's going to be more to follow. So everybody has known Kendrick Lamar for putting on a good show, right? Everybody known Kendrick Lamar for the theatrics, for the movements, for the choreographic things, for, all the things that he does on stage. They know about his commitment to his craftsmanship. And I believe this tour is really going to go up once everybody sees what he can do, once everybody in the world sees what he's capable of on that Super Bowl stage. So if you don't know Kendrick Lamar before that Super Bowl performance, you're going to know it now. And if you didn't know if he was a great performer before the Super Bowl performance, you're going to know it. So I believe that this Super Bowl performance is going to be a big thing and something that he's really taking serious and something that he's really considering all the elements that go into it. So this is going to be a big show, and this is going to be a preview of the stadium show that's to come. So we know SZA is going to be a guest on the Super Bowl stage, and it only makes sense. It's only right. And now that they're talking about SZA doing a deluxe, SZA releasing some new music, and the fact that we know she's going to accompany Kendrick Lamar on the Super Bowl stage, I can see her doing the deluxe around the time that the Super Bowl drops, right? And people are saying like Kendrick Lamar is probably going to do a deluxe. People say Kendrick Lamar is probably going to deliver another album, right? And I believe so. I hope so, right? Because we haven't been fed as fans of Kendrick Lamar's. We haven't been fed like this in a while. So to give us a little bit more to consume, a little bit more to take in, I believe it's only right, and we would appreciate it, right? So I believe the Super Bowl is that promotion, that marketing, that advertisement that will market and promote the tour. So if the tickets wasn't already selling, it's going to really sell out by the time of that Super Bowl performance show ends. So I really think that's a big thing. And then the Drake and the Toronto thing. right? Rumors are already spreading that Drake is trying to buy up all the front row seats at the Toronto show so nobody's going to be there when Kendrick Lamar performs. And the crazy thing is that all he's doing is giving money giving money to the people that he so-called dislike. So if he's going to buy all these front row tickets, okay, right? And if nobody's there at the front row, let's get people on the 100 level. Let's get people on the 200 level. Let's get people on the nosebleeds. Let's let them come down and enjoy the show, right? So it could be even more intimate, right? Because I'm sure that's something that could be done. That's something that could be done. So I'm for sure, in belief that Kendrick, can do the Toronto, the Rogers Center, right? The stadium of the Toronto Blue Jays. And the fact that GNX was the number one album on the Canadian charts, right? It's internationally known. So it makes sense that this album is in high demand. It makes sense that this music is in high demand, right? Because we always had people from our section, people from our cities represent, right? And what they say about the people in your cities that represent, most of the time people from outside your city get more love than the people in the city, right? Because I'm sure a lot of Canadian, a lot of Sixers, as Drake would say, are familiar with Drake. And they might know him in a way that the world might not know him. They might know him in a way that, some of the U.S. population doesn't know him, right? And they might not like him as much. They might like somebody else. They might like somebody else more than him. And even if they don't like somebody else more than him, I'm sure they would appreciate a switch up, right? I'm sure they would appreciate, some different type of music, because all we hear is that sweet lullaby music. All we hear is that melodic, to the girls, to the women, that rap R&B combination. So it's good to hear some full-on rap, full-on hip-hop, and, some West Coast sounds that just give you a different type of energy, give you a higher frequency to vibrate at. So, it's understandable that people from his city would appreciate Kendrick Lamar's music. And it's also understandable that people in that city don't like Drake like he's making it seem, right? Or as they've made it seem to be for all these years. Yes, I'm sure he has a good support system. But we saw it with Nipsey. People from the city don't love you like they think like you think they love you. Right? They'll take your life. After all you've done for the community, after all you've done for the city, they'll take your life. So I feel like Drake, I know you're appreciated. I know you're honored in that city. I know you're welcome. I know you're loved. You're cherished. But there is a population of those people that might not rock with you like you think they rock with you. And that is what it is at the end of the day. Right? So, I digress. But, I hope Drake doesn't do anything to mess it up. I hope Drake doesn't do anything to tarnish his legacy even more. I hope Drake doesn't do anything even more petty. You know what I'm saying? To keep his name in the beef, to keep his name in the shadows, just to keep his name in the mix. Because at the end of the day, he's trying to get away from these claims of being a pedophile. He's trying to get away from these claims that Kendrick made against him on Not Like Us, on Meet the Grounds. But every chance he's continuing to bring it up by doing actions towards Kendrick. By mean mugging, doing all that shit at the game against DeMar DeRozan. By filing these petitions. Right, by making the no-face songs, by doing the 100 gigs, shooting subliminals, he's continued to keep his name in the mix. And every time he keeps his name in the mix, all we think about is Not Like Us. All we think about is Euphoria, Meet the Grounds. All we think about is 616 in L.A. How do you know OVO doesn't work for Kendrick? And you think he should be scared to perform in Toronto? How you know that OVO is working for me? Right? Somebody in your camp is foul. Somebody in your camp say you a terrible person. They don't like how you be treating them. Somebody close to you. So that's the thing, like, when we look at everything that Kendrick has exposed about Drake, said about Drake and OVO, right? Because you do have a section of Toronto that's EXO, that's Weeknd fans, and the Weeknd fans are bigger than the Drake fans, right? Drake is just known more publicly as far as sports goes, but the Weeknd is just as big of an artist. So the EXO fans are probably the ones that are supporting Kendrick. Like I said, it's people in your own city that don't like you the way you think they like you. And you got beef in your own city, bro. You had a security guard shot, and it was supposed to be because of the beef that you had with XO. So, like, we got to put all these things together. And we got to also think about continuing to make acts and participate in acts and do antics and do all these crazy ass things, right? These petty ass things, these, I guess you could say, just they're not smart, right? They're just reactions. They're impulsive. These impulsive things, and it never bodes well for you, and it always catapults Kendrick up even higher. So you can do what you want to do, but I think whatever you do is going to make you look bad and make Kendrick look worse. And the best thing that you can do is what Kendrick has been doing, right? The main strategy that Kendrick has followed: put out the music, do the performances, don't say nothing, stay low, stay out the way, stay out the camera, stay off the internet, and just do what you do, right? And shout out to Kendrick too, right? Shout out to Kendrick. Shout out to Squabble Up, #1 song on Billboard Hot 100. Like I was saying in the last episode, there were rumored to be 8 songs that would debut in the top 10, right? And I believe there were 8 or 7. I think it were 7 songs, and one was like right outside of that song. Right outside of that, Squabble Up, Whacked Out, Murals, TV Off. We think about I think Reincarnated was one of them. I think Hey Now was in the mix, and it was 5 was the top 5. So he had 5 songs off the album that occupied the top 5. And you got to think, he only put 12 songs on this album. So damn near half of the album was in the top 5. And then 3/4 of the album was in the top 10. So this is a great feat, right? Only Drake has done this. Only Taylor Swift has done this. Artists like those on that caliber have done this. So we got to understand like how great this is, how big of an achievement this is for Kendrick Lamar, right? And he deserves all the props. And I feel like TV Off is picking up that steam. I feel like TV Off, just because it sounds so much like Not Like Us, and it's easier to get into as a bop because of the familiarity and the similarities of the hit that's already been done. And I compare it to TV Off and Not Like Us to MC Hammer, when Rick Ross did MC Hammer, and then when he did BMF, right? I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, right? Raymond, that keep on dancing. Like MC Hammer, like those 2 songs are very familiar, and he put them on the same album, Teflon Don, and those 2 songs went crazy for him. Those 2 songs are what brought him back from the beef with 50 Cent. Those 2 songs is what put Rick Ross back on top. So I liken Not Like Us and TV Off, basically Kendrick Lamar's MC Hammer and BMF, right? So I think TV Off is the next one to go off. I think that might be the next #1 song, and he already has 3 #1 songs that have been in the top one, the number one this year like that. Not like us. The second one is Squabble Up, so 2 solo, right? And I think TV Off, if it keeps picking up the steam, right? If it keeps picking up the steam, I think TV Off can be number one this next go around, and then we see what happened, from there. So man, at the end of the day, people can say what they want to say about the album, but the numbers are kind of like speaking for themselves as far as what they're generating, as far as what they're doing, and as far as the conversation. And like I said, not really many people are dropping around this time, have dropped around this time as big as Kendrick Lamar. So I think we're really putting all of our attention on that. And it's been a lot of topics to discuss about what he said on the album. It's been a lot of topics of discussion about what he said on Squabble Up, about what he said on Whacked Out Murals, about what he said on TV Off. And what he said on Whacked Out Murals is, don't let no white comedian talk about no black woman, that's law. Right? And before we get to that segment, I want to say congratulations also because he's went gold. GNX is now a gold album, right? So 319 in that first week. And if we look at being gold, that would mean he would have to hit 181 in this second week. So he's already gold. And so he's already done at least. So he's close to platinum, right? So we can say that this album didn't just do the numbers that it did and fell off. We can say that this album is still going, right? And that's really my point of, like, this album is a good album. This album is kind of like what people are liking, and even if the album in totality is not your album, but there are some songs on there that's kind of like undeniable. So even if you don't like this album in totality, you'll still like some of those songs from this album. And I feel like they'll continue to go on, even through next year, especially with the Grammys, especially with the Super Bowl performance, and secondly and thirdly with the tour. So, when we talk about Whacked Out Murals, there's been a lot of conversation about that. He talked about Wayne. He talked about Snoop Dogg. I watch him pander with them backhanded compliments. He talked about J. Cole. Now put his head on the Cuban link as a monument. Right? And now he said, don't let no white comedian talk about no black woman as law. Right? We heard the response of Andrew Schultz. And really, I'm into comedy. I'm into stand-up. I'm into, like, being funny, giving some type of thought, some type of comedic relief to, like, serious situations, right? So I'm into comedy. I study comedy, to be honest. And we know what Andrew Schultz said. They've been playing it all around. That's what I'm saying. The album keeps on going, keeps being in rotation because people keep talking about it. And even though, like, it's giving attention to Andrew Schultz, him responding and him facing backlash is going to make people listen to that song more. It's going to want to see what Kendrick said in that song a little bit more. Right? So they both kind of feeding off of it. I feel like he had to respond. Why wouldn't he respond? Even if Kendrick didn't put no name on it, even if he didn't say his name, it benefited him. It behooved him to respond to that song that he felt like and that the fans felt like was directed towards him, because earlier in this year he had a viral moment that went, when he talked about black women, and he was on the air, he was on a podcast, his Flagrant podcast with two black guys from the UK, and they was talking about a TikTok trend that went viral about how white men glowed up from being with a black woman. They had the nice haircut, they had the nice beards, and Andrew Schultz went on to say they got that buzz cut because they've been, their hairline's going back because all this black woman is doing is complaining. They only got this beard because all the black woman gonna smack the shit out of them, so it's for cushion, right? And then he said, he asked those guys, like, so do you prefer the black woman? Do you prefer the white woman? Do you prefer? And they was like, we prefer all women, trying to be politically correct, PC. And he was like, hey, Kendrick's fans, get him. And just like rewatching that clip, I understand why Kendrick Lamar responded to it. So like if you don't play the full clip in its entirety, like then you don't understand like why he said what he said. Then we gotta go to like his response, right? His response is really pretty much deflecting, right? Deflecting, putting it all on hip hop. Like, okay, how can you call me out when, what hip hop's all about is talking down on black women and, like disrespecting black women. But, from what I've been hearing and just absorbing kind of like the overall like thought of what he's saying about hip hop is, I mean, yes, hip hop is pretty much vocal about their disrespect, but at the same time, misogyny exists in all of these cultures. And that's very true. A lot of men think they are the end all be all and women don't matter. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he didn't really, I guess, answer the call, answer the bell of what Kendrick said. But at the same time, he just kind of pointed to the I want to say the word right. Hypocrisy, that exists within rap. And we know that Kendrick Lamar has always been, strong and firm about taking care of black women. Keisha's song, Tammy's song, right? We know that he's always big up black women. Black of the Berry, love, loyalty. Like, we know Kendrick Lamar has been big. Mother I Sober, Auntie Diaries. Like, we know Kendrick Lamar has big up black women and put these black women on a pedestal. And at the end of the day, like, to point hypocrisy towards him, I feel like it's undirected. It's not directed in the right area, right? And okay, well, he's teaming up with these these South Park comedians. They made fun of black women. They made fun about Lizzo. They made fun of Lizzo about her weight. It wasn't about blackness. It wasn't about feeding into the stereotype of black women. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. At the end of the day, you kind of understand like both sides. Like, it's just a joke, right? It's just a joke. Freedom of speech. It is what it is, right? He responded because he was supposed to respond, because he was supposed to, respond as a comedian. He was supposed to find something funny to say back about Kendrick. But at the end of the day, to some people that joke didn't land. Some people that joke did land, right? And for some people to say, don't let no white comedian talk about a black woman that's law, they might feel like it's hypocritical, right? But Kendrick Lamar, at the end of the day, he's always owned up to his hypocritical ways. He's always owned up to his contradicting ways. You can say what you want to say about him. You can point the finger at him, but he's already pointed the finger at himself. He's already put himself, on that chopping block many times in his music, many times on Mr. Morale, many times on To Pimp a Butterfly. Many times, right? So it's kind of like you can say what you want to say, but you really can't say nothing about him that he hasn't already said about himself. And that's what Drake failed to do as well. There's really nothing that you can say about him that's going to make him look bad, because he's very transparent. He's very open, with his vulnerability. And even you talk about the magazine interview that he did with SZA on Harper's Bazaar, right? He said he needed to be in touch with that feminine side of himself, because the masculine energy is only one type of energy, and people need to be able to tap into their feminine side, because that's more the creative side. That's the side that will allow them to be vulnerable, allow them to open up a little bit more. So, I mean, Schultz, I get it, bro. You wanted to be funny, and, some people thought it was funny. On the other side of that, with the black community, they didn't find it funny. Because at the end of the day, that's white boy jokes, right? That's easy white boy jokes. That's the white boy jokes that they make in the locker room, that they make at the frat parties. That's the white boy jokes, right? Yeah, I'll fuck you, dude. Yeah, dude. Yeah, you're a little bitch. I bet I could fuck you. Like, that's white boy jokes. Like, and the thing about these white boy jokes versus like black boy jokes, like the gay jokes, we don't find that shit funny. We find that like very offensive. We find that very disrespectful. So like I could see how, you know what I'm saying, other people could find this as just a joke, find it as funny, and I could see how people can find this as weird, because I know a lot of people are labeling this as weird, but if we know about white culture, right, or American culture, we know that these are white boy jokes, right? Y'all like Will Ferrell, y'all like all of these other comedians. That's how they make fun. That's how they do their comedy. So it's normal for them to do these type of bits, right? But at the end of the day, it was no real punchline. It was no real joke. Cause basically he was saying he could rape Kendrick Lamar. So it's kind of like, damn, you can see why people could take offense to that, and why they brought buck breaking into it. And if you don't know what buck breaking is, right? What are you talking about, buck breaking? And I don't think Schultz was familiar with buck breaking, right? Because sometimes that conversation doesn't come up like in a lot of, media platforms. But since he took that route, now he has to learn a little bit about buck breaking and what that means and what that stands for. And why the black women don't trust us. And why the black women sometimes cannot be submissive, right? And it kind of is a 360 moment. Shit, let's break it down right now. It's kind of a 360 moment. And I think like Andrew Schultz making this joke about Kendrick Lamar has opened this up for a dialogue, has opened this up for kind of what's been an issue in the black community for so long. And we've been brainwashed. We don't even know about these things. We don't even know about these issues. But we need to kind of like tap into them now, because this is something that we can fix. This is something that we can talk about. This is something that we can kind of have a therapy session about. Because the buck, right? A strong black man. How do you break a strong man down? You beat him. You do sexual things to him to make him feel like less of a man. You do things to his woman in front of him to make him feel like less of a man. This is the Jim Crow laws. This is what they did during slavery to break us down mentally. Buck breaking. So now when you walk around big and bad, look at Kuta Kinte, he lost his foot. Buck breaking. You walk around big and bad, I'll have your woman. I'll take your her womanhood right in front of you. Buck breaking. And now you're seen as weak by your own woman. Now you're seen as somebody that's not masculine, that won't fight back, that doesn't have that energy, that doesn't have that same spark that he had when he was a youth. So we got to understand, like, the ramifications of buck breaking has trickled down throughout the generations. We got to understand the roots. Like, we think about it as the women don't trust us because we've been cheating. The women don't trust us because, we don't love them like we say we do. No, it goes down from generation to generation, right? Why black women feel unprotected. Why they say you have to protect black women is because they was violating our women to break us, to break our heart, to break our steam, to break our energy, to break our frequency, to break our soul. Like, we got to understand what buck breaking is. And now that buck breaking is brought to the light, like, we just got to be more careful about it. Like, I mean, we can point the blame, we can point the finger, but some of these white people, they don't know about it, right? Because They didn't put that in the history books. Right? They trying to put the critical race theory in there now. You think they studied? They haven't even seen Baby Boy. They haven't even seen House Party. You think these white people know about buck breaking? And the thing that they unfamiliar about it is just pure ignorance. Right? So he's talking from an ignorant standpoint. He's joking from an ignorant standpoint because he don't even know the impact of what he's really saying. And so that's just my point when it comes to buck breaking, right? Because you're trying to make a man obedient. They was trying to say the NBA was trying to buck break Kyrie, right? So he would be obedient. So he would fall in line with what they wanted him to do as far as abiding by the culture of the NBA, not talking about the Jewish community, not giving out his unfiltered opinions about things. So, I mean, that conversation was around that time, but to actually say that you're going to sexually assault a man, that's a different type of buck breaking. That's the real buck breaking. And, man, in the midst of all this, we need to find Nirvana, right? And Smino has seemed to found his Nirvana, Maybe In Nirvana, right? And I like the album. And I appreciate Smino as an artist. I love Smino as an artist. I think Smino is a great artist. I think he's very futuristic. I think he's ahead of his time. I think he's original. I think he's somebody that hip hop needs. He's no savior, but the lyrics are there. The production is there, right? And the style is there. We saw Drake trying to steal his style, trying to steal his look when Drake had hair, right? The braids with the beads. You know what I'm saying? The ponytails, 4 different ponytails. Like, you know, Smino got a different type of style to him. Like, from an artist standpoint and from a fashion standpoint. And he really is one of those diamond in the rough type of guys. And I hate that he's underground. I hate that he's not as known as he should be. Same way when we talk about Saba. Same way to a lesser point when we talk about J.I.D. Same way we talk about Earth Gang. All these guys are different in their own right. They represent of what hip-hop could look like. You know, what hip-hop did look like back in the day with those different styles. But now they're coined as alternative hip-hop. But, man, these artists are great artists. And I think Smino is great, Maybe in Nirvana. Right? I like the album. 24 minutes, 10 tracks, 9 songs. One was an intro. Or maybe it was 11 tracks, 10 songs. I don't know. But feature with Bun B, Raven Lene. I like the song with Thundercat and Reggie. Taquan, Dear Friend. Miss Joyce. Ho Nouns. You know, that were great songs. They were great for Smino fans. But as far as taking the risk, and when I look at Smino as an artist in totality, he takes the risk. He raps about everything. He gives you different flows, gives you different cadences, different patterns, different melodies. He's so much all over the place, so alternative, you can't put him in a box, right? But as far as the production, I feel like he's staying with the same production. He's staying with the same sound, and he's still doing what he usually does. And the thing about doing what you usually do, it's hard to break the parameters and to break through like different fan bases and to gain more fans by doing the same thing that is good for the same fans you've been having. So I feel like with this album, he didn't take the risk. With this album, he didn't really venture into any new journey, but it was still good. It was still quality music. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'll give it a 7 out of 10.